Hello and welcome back. I'm Lincoln, and today we're going to be making this. It's the second day of my October 3D sculpting challenge. We're going to be making the amulet. I'm going to throw up the rest of the prompt list here. This sculpting challenge is all about learning new tools and techniques, so feel free to mix and match if you want to change up and do a different scene at the end of the week. Hey, if you guys feel like sharing any work you've created, please use the hashtags October3D, October3D 2022, an October 3D day, and whichever day you're doing. Alright, let's go and make an amulet. Okay, so this sphere has already been validated because it's in a new scene, so we can't use that one. So let's delete that one and add. I do want to add the normal sphere, which is fine, because I want the jewel shape on it. Okay, so we'll stretch it up, squeeze it down, and squeeze it down just a little bit. It makes a pretty nice little jewel shape, and I know we did that in the last video, but I have a pretty fun idea for this for later in the week. So we're going to use this. Alright, so let's add another box. Well, add a box, I guess, not another one. Squeeze this down. Okay, that looks good. That's perfect. A little bit bigger. Alright, now this one, the sphere, I'm gonna clone that one, so I need another one and make it just a little bit bigger. And if we turn the visibility off, you can see, hopefully on the camera you can see a little narrower here, a little wider here. That's fine, we'll fix that in just a second. Alright, I'm going to stretch it out though so it'll cut better for what I want to do. Turn that one off, turn the box on. I'm going to voxel merge them, keep the edges sharp. Let's come up a little bit. Alright, cut out, there we go. Now let's go a little bigger, I want a little more space in there. And the jewel, you can see it's not quite centered, so we'll open that up just a little bit, and that looks really good. That's perfect. Alright, so this guy, let's trim him off. So we're going to trim, go to the trim menu. Now here, we're going to make sure that we have circle turned off, because if that's checked, it'll just do a circle. So we want to be able to do an ellipse. Now I want to be able to pull from the center and not from the side of the shape. So let's pull from the center. You can see you can adjust it. And the white is what's going to cut away, because if it's flipped like this, you'll cut out what we want, and I want to keep that. So we're going to keep this and cut that. Perfect. Just what we want. And using that little blue dot, because you have these on here now, which is pretty cool. You see you have the pink dot for the different views and different axes on here. Works really well. It makes it a lot easier to control where you're at if you're pulling from the center of the world when you're cutting stuff. Okay, perfect. Now let's add I think it doesn't matter, either one of these will work. Either one of the circle spheres. I'm going to use this to set the stone. It'll work pretty good. Stretch this out. And we can turn off snapping. We don't need that right now. Just place it. I'm going to just put 4 on here. We're going to do 1 at first. Let's turn it, snap it. Yep, that looks good. So center it on that ish, somewhere right there. It's good. Maybe not totally centered. Let's come up a little bit. All right, that looks good. Shrink it in a little bit. There. Now, I don't want to leave that hole, because if we turn this into a jewel and it's transparent where you can see, you'll see the setting like in the stone, so we don't want that. So let's come up and let's go ahead and rename this so we don't lose our place. Save it. Okay. So the sphere, we can go and validate it, because it's going to validate it anyway on its own when we go to cut this. So the jewel, let's clone that. we'll turn that one off. We'll turn on the sphere, and let's go ahead and voxel merge those. And 300 or so should be fine. Keep the edges sharp and merge. Okay, so if we come in and turn the jewel off, and you can see we have that nice cut right there. That's perfect. Okay, now let's go ahead and mirror those. So you can see we got the X-plane right there, so let's mirror right to left, yes. And then if we change the plane to Y, because that's, you can see the Y plane, it's hard to see, but there's a green line right there. So it doesn't matter which one you pick because it's up. Just pick one. Yes, now we have 4. Alright, so we'll turn the jewel back on. Now the jewel's set. Alright, so that's a little plain, so let's do some texturing on this. So I'm going to texture this piece. And I have a texture stamp right here. And you've got your stamp here if you don't have this custom brush. And I have several custom ones in here, and this one I made in Procreate. It's actually the water, and it'll make a pretty nice texture on here. So, oh, see that's pixelated, so let's go into the multi-resolution here. Subdivide this a few times. Yes, I know, it's going to be big. Alright, let's turn off symmetry because I don't want these to all look the same. It makes a nice texture, just something so when we turn this into a metal, you know, this one needs to be like a gold or a silver or a bronze or something. That way it'll have a little more shine if it has some texture on it. So we'll just texture the front and back. Okay, perfect. And this texture, I'll show you something about this in just a second. It makes it a lot nicer blending into one another because I have the edge of the stamp blended in. So if you look in here, I have the fall off where it'll blend on the edges, so when it's not a hard edge and you don't see a circular line on your stamp. Okay, that looks good. So let's click to the front. Now the only thing left, I'm not going to put a chain or a rope on this because I have a different idea for this when we go to put this all together at the end of the week. But feel free to do whatever you want, and you don't have to follow along with this perfectly. This is just what I'm doing, so you can kind of see how to do something like this. Alright, so let's add a torus. Let's turn the snap to 90. Doesn't really matter, but it makes it a little bit easier. There. Alright, let's squeeze this guy in. Makes a nice little bail. Come on. There we go. Squeeze it up. That's probably about the right size. Okay, that looks good. It's nice and wide. Maybe a little too wide. Let's narrow it down a little bit. Now that looks a little off. I'm going to put another... You could either put another torus, or I'm just going to put a sphere in here just to kind of terminate the two of these together. Give it a little more detail. Get that more on screen for you. There. Here's a little something extra. Squeeze that out a little. There. Okay, I like that. It looks good. Alright, so we'll go to the front and let's start combining a bunch of this. So the jewel is the only thing we don't want to do. The jewel we can go and validate, and these we can go and validate. Doesn't really matter too much. Those, if you just click and drag, we can join all those. Maybe if my pencil reacts. And I'm going to paint that. So let's paint it. Just paint it gold. That'll work. So that's all gold. Now you could definitely smooth these out a little bit. These are still a little rough. You can bring the resolution up and they'll smooth out really nice. This is just a quick tutorial in Sculpt. And this is my sculpting challenge is more about just learning how to do all this as opposed to making it absolutely perfect on everyone. Just learn some new tools, new techniques if you haven't done these already. And feel free to do whatever kind of detailing and, or, change it up, do whatever you want. All right, so this one I'm going to go ahead and paint. I don't know what color I want to paint. We need to turn the roughness and the metalness down. And let's go with a deep green. That sounds fun. Paint all. Okay, that looks good. Now come up in the materials menu. I'm going to click refraction. That's a little dark because it's going to be hard to see anything through it, but it does look good. So let's put it on the turntable and see what it looks like. Oh yeah, maybe I will leave it like that. That looks really good, actually. Yeah. If we turn the grid off, it'll look better. So let's rotate it just a little. Whoop, nope. Rotate all of it. Select them both. Turn off snapping. Rotate it just a little bit. Now put it on the turntable. Yeah, that looks better. Hey, if you're having fun following along with these, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow for the broom. It's the next prompt in the October 3D sculpting challenge I presented. All right, I'll see you next time.